As of today, each series of the NBA playoffs has concluded its second game, and I think it's safe to say the sweatshop may have stolen the wrong script from Adam Silver. Maybe it was the rough draft, or maybe Mark II, I don't know, but there are clearly some things that we didn't foresee. Overall, though, the playoffs have been very interesting. There's a lot of very cool storylines that I want to go over, so before we do anything, like and subscribe, comment down below your favorite game of the playoffs so far, and stay tuned for the Sweatshop's recap of the first week of the NBA playoffs. Let's start off everything with the series that I'm probably most proud about so far, the Pacers versus the Bucks. It started off a little bit rough, I'm not gonna lie. The first game, honestly, I was praying that it was just a burn the tape game because the Pacers looked so terrible. They just looked out of sorts. Now the second game, to be fairly honest, I don't think the second game is characteristic of how the Pacers are going to be either. They were extremely hot that game and the Bucks were kind of cold themselves, but I do think that the real Pacers are somewhere in between. So first things first, I would just like to say that the vet star players for both teams are doing their thing. Damian has been unconscious in the first halves, but still he's averaging like 30-some points per game on decent efficiency for the whole series so far. And Pascal Siakam, him in the post has been literally automatic. The second his back goes to the basket, I assume the ball's going into the hoop somehow. Tyrese, I'd also like to give him his props, but for a weirder reason. Tyrese had a really weird first game where it seemed like, not that he was like missing shots, but that he just didn't want to shoot. I felt similarly about Paolo and Franz, who we'll get into later. So the first game, my thoughts were, okay, I need Tyrese to take more than 9 shots. This game, I'm pretty sure he took somewhere around the same amount. I know he didn't have more than 12, 13 points, but it was one of the most weirdly dominant games I've ever seen from anybody. It was like a vintage Rondo performance because every single minute he was on the court, it felt like he had some type of hand in the Pacers scoring, whether it was a hockey assist or a direct assist, or he was literally pointing where people need to go to generate the best looking shot for Pascal. It was a sight to see, and honestly, I was quite impressed. In games like this where his teammates are capitalizing on the looks he's getting them, the Pacers are really unstoppable. I think the key to this series is going to be the pace. The first game, it looked like the Pacers were uncomfortable. They didn't want to play the way they normally play. The second game, through and through, felt like a Pacers game, mainly because both teams were trying to get up and down the court. And really from the first quarter on, I personally didn't feel like the Bucks could keep up. I thought the Bucks were going to cave at some point and the Pacers were going to break it wide open. I didn't think they were going to break it open to the degree they did in the fourth quarter when Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam were both hitting every single shot, and then Andrew Nembhard is hitting step back, turnaround jump shots. Like, no, the Pacers were hot. But I do think if the Bucks continue to try to keep pace with the Pacers, I don't think the Bucks will have any chance of winning. Overall, I'm happy with my pick for the Pacers. I feel like at the very least they're going to split the games in Indiana. If anything, we're now even more sure Giannis isn't going to play a single game in this series. Shams just had a report that he's not even running yet. So yeah, Bucks are still even more so on pack watch. Nuggets Lakers, not much to say. I just don't think the Lakers are built to beat this Nuggets team. You need a bunch of rangy defenders on a string to be able to beat this Nuggets team. The Lakers are just too dependent on AD, who has to worry about literally the greatest center we've seen in maybe 2 decades since Shaquille O'Neal. Like, even when they were up 20 in game 2, I really didn't have any doubts that the Nuggets were going to come back. Just looking at the degree of shot difficulty for both teams, you could tell the Nuggets were going to come back because the Nuggets play team basketball and they generate a bunch of open looks. So even though they weren't hitting their shots, you just knew they were going to start hitting them at some point. And then the Lakers were it just felt like they got hot. I don't know. I still think the Lakers can take a game, but I just don't see how anyone can think that the Lakers can beat the Nuggets 4 times out of 5. I just don't see it. Cavs versus Magic, I took 2 gambles in this playoffs. I took 2 gambles on teams I thought could make that next jump. One was the Pacers, the other was the Magic, who I have now completely abandoned. I have in my notes that the Cavs offense versus the Magic defense is a good offense versus a really good defense. The Magic offense versus the Cavs defense is a bad offense versus a good defense. I didn't watch all of game 2. I watched portions of it. I watched all of game 1. But I cannot remember a single Magic offensive possession that was fluid. That wasn't herky-jerky. That wasn't one person holding the ball without dribbling for 10 seconds trying to figure out what to do because everyone else is covered. They're a very young team, and it's okay. It's okay. They're going up against a veteran-led team, a team that's more well-constructed than I gave them credit for. It's okay for the Magic to not be ready yet. I thought they were a step ahead of where they were. One thing I was hoping to see, and the thing that I was honestly banking on the most when I chose the Magic to advance the next round and beat the Cavs, was for Paolo and Franz to be more aggressive, for both of them to get like 25-ish shots a game. Maybe it's because they're young. Maybe it's because their basketball IQ and passing vision is so high that they want to get their guys open, but they just have to recognize that at this point in time, they don't have the personnel around them to be playmakers. If their team is going to advance, they have to be scorers. They have to put the team on their back, and right now they're shooting like 20 for both of them, and that's just... The Magic aren't going to advance if that's the case. As I said earlier, Jarrett Allen has been a monster on the boards. I believe he's averaging 19 boards a game, and you add on Evan Mobley's 7 to 11, 7 to 10 each game. I wrote down maybe it's time for some Goga Bitadze minutes. Like, he's nowhere near as good defensively as Jonathan Isaac. He's decent himself, but obviously Jonathan Isaac's one of the best in the league, but he does have one of the highest rebounding percentages in the league. I'm not saying like start him or anything. Just give him a few minutes, see if that does anything. Really just throwing stuff against the wall, but just basing it off of the tape, I am not confident in the Magic whatsoever. Like and subscribe, comment down below. We're gonna try to get you guys a lot of playoff content this year, so yeah, like and subscribe, share with your friends, all that jazz. Yeah. The Knicks versus the Sixers. Wow. This series has been pure playoff basketball, to say the least. I would like to give my full props to the Knicks. Once again, like, I didn't really doubt them. I said the series was going to go 7 games. I don't know. They've come out and just punched Philadelphia in the mouth. They may be the first team in NBA history to win a NBA championship based solely off of grit since like the Detroit Pistons. Like, it's absurd to watch. The thing that really struck me when watching the Sixers and Knicks, as I said before, is the rebound. I felt the same about the Knicks offensive rebounding as I did like most teams' defensive rebounding. Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and really the whole Josh Hart, like, they are just killing them on the boards, and that's really been a huge help because Jalen Brunson has not been good these first 2 games. So that just gives them extra possessions. This may be the first series I remember watching where rebounding could win the series. I don't know. It's not looking good for the Sixers, especially when you take into account Joel Embiid's been injured and he just looks immobile. Tyrese Maxey looks unstoppable. Every single time the man gets a screen and roll or just puts his head down and drives to the basket, I automatically chalk up 2 points for the Sixers. The thing I have written in my notes is the Sixers need to switch Embiid and Maxey's role. Embiid needs to focus solely on playmaking because he's been a really good playmaker, especially in this series. And Maxey needs to focus solely on scoring. In their last game, I believe Joel had 29 shots and Maxey had 22. I think that should be flipped. But man, Kelly Oubre's playing insane defense from Jalen Brunson. Kyle Lowry's actually had a solid 2 games. Like, as far as the Knicks' performance, you couldn't really ask for anything better for the Sixers, and they still just haven't been able to pull it out, mostly because of Joel Embiid's injury, but he's been injured like every single postseason. You have to take this into account at this point. It's gonna be a good series either way. Knicks-wise, I want to give love to Josh Hart. Deuce McBride, who first game especially, and also the second game, he's been on something. Like, much props to him. He's given the Knicks that spark that they really haven't had with Jalen Brunson yet, just because Jalen's been off. Mitchell Robinson, I'd like to give some love to as well. He seems to be the only Knicks player that's actually like bothering Joel Embiid without the need of help. And then Isaiah Hartenstein may genuinely have his jersey retired by the end of this series if the Knicks pull it out. Like, he has been exceptional. So much love to the Knicks. I think the Sixers are still in it. This is the coin flip series of coin flip series. This is going to be a fun one. And this was honestly the series that was the main inspiration behind the title. This feels like 90s basketball, and I am all here for it. Suns versus Timberwolves, the other series I am doing a full 180 on. I don't see how the Suns can win, honestly. Like, the first game, that did not sway me at all because I feel like the Suns executed the game plan to perfection. They just weren't hitting their shots, and the Timberwolves were. If Anthony Edwards is going to hit the shots that he was hitting in that third quarter throughout the series, then Timberwolves are winning the championship. Second game, he comes down to earth more. 15 points on 25% from the field, and they still won. And that's because one of the things I said I didn't believe in the original playoff preview video, that the Timberwolves supporting cast could reliably create their own shot. Well, that's exactly what they did. Mike Conley. Jaden McDaniels has been a dog on both ends of the court. It's been ridiculous. But let's stay offensively. Jaden McDaniels had a very good game. Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been solid in both games. Very good in the first. And Rudy Gobert has been a really solid finisher. So offensively, the Wolves are better than I thought. And then defensively, I thought they would take a step back from the regular season from first to maybe fifth or sixth. They've been the best playoff defense. They have been the best playoff defense. Jaden McDaniels has been in his Duffy defensively. It's been crazy to watch. He's been so good. Physical, stays in front of the defender at all times, making KD's life hell. Rudy Gobert has been, this may be the most comfortable I've ever seen him on the perimeter in the playoffs. And then everyone else is just, they have so much defensive personnel that works so well together. This Timberwolves team can beat the Nuggets. And as I said about the Clippers in the Mavs Clippers series preview, the Suns aren't the Nuggets. Flat. They don't feel as team oriented as they did in the regular season. Their offense is too my turn, your turn, mainly because of how good the Timberwolves defense is. I don't want to act like the Suns are just missing shots. The Timberwolves are taking it to the Suns. There are two trends that have proven true for this playoff so far. One, defense and rebounding has not gone out of style. And two, teams are better than stars. And I just feel like this Timberwolves team has proven that it's a lot better than I gave it credit for. Mavs Clippers. I didn't even finish the first game of Mavs Clippers. That was the quintessential rest versus rust game, similar to the first game of the Pacers Bucks series. Burn the tape game. They were missing wide open layups. They were missing alley-oops, dunks, open threes, like no. At first half. The second half, they played solid. LeBron talked about this in the JJ Redick podcast. I can't remember if it was the last episode or the episode prior. I think it was the last episode. And he said, the way teams lose can sometimes lead to a win in the next game. And I wasn't sure about that, but watching that first Pacers game and the first Mavs game, where their first half was so atrocious, but in the second half, they started to get a little bit more of a rhythm. It did feel like that carried over to the second games for both these series. For the Mavs specifically, I gotta give Luka and Kyrie love first. They have been exceptional on both ends of the court, especially Luka. Oh my, Luka has been not just a passable, like solid, like, oh, team defender. He's been a good on-ball defender this series, especially game 2. Luka has been a good on-ball defender. I saw multiple possessions where he was stopping Paul George in the backcourt and getting good contests. He was forcing difficult shots off of ISO, and I said, is this the same Luka? And then offensively, they've just done what Luka and Kyrie usually do. I still feel very confident in my Mavs pick. I will say that if you're a Clippers fan, you should not feel disheartened at all. Zubac, who's been a monster in the post and someone that the Mavs haven't really had a good answer for. He got 2 really quick fouls in game 2, so he wasn't able to get a lot of minutes. And then also, that was Kawhi's first game back. He's still getting back into playing shape. Honestly, if I were a Clippers fan, I'd feel even more confident now that I know Kawhi is back and playing. Because before the series started, I didn't even know if he was going to play a game in this series. And now he's back game 2. Clippers fans, don't feel terrible that y'all dropped the game at home. I still think you guys have more than a solid chance to win this series. I personally am just going with the Mavericks because there's 2 people in this series that I'm very confident in offensively. Luka scoring 30 to 35 and Kyrie scoring 25 to 30. So I was not going to do a section on Heat versus Celtics because I just assumed the Celtics were going to win another one. But hey, let's go Heat culture. I'm not going to say nothing crazy. I still think Celtics going to win in 5, maybe 6 now. The Heat had to make literally their franchise record in 3-pointers to beat them. But Man, the reason the Heat went on a hot streak last year was because their three-point shooting magically shot up in the playoffs. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities for it to happen again. And if it happens again, who knows? I'm not gonna say it, but could be scary hours. Just say it. I'm still choosing the Celtics in 5. Also, Bam Adebayo was really, really good. I forgot to say that. And lastly, Thunder Pelicans. I'd be lying if I said that first game didn't scare me a little bit. I'd be lying if I said that didn't take years off my life. I'd be lying if that didn't put the smallest inkling of doubt in my mind. Just made me wonder if we really a playoff team. But this last game proved like, no, this is why we're dangerous. Every single offensive possession, every person touches the ball. We're like the Nuggets. You have to beat us as a team. You can't just try to lock out one player and say, oh, okay, we locked them down. No, every person's going to touch the ball. Every person can score. Every person can create. And then when the offense does get stagnant, we have the best shot creator in the... I'm sorry. I'm a Thunder fan, so take this with a grain of salt. SGA is the best perimeter shot creator in the league. I feel so secure when our offense is sputtering and he just tells everyone to calm down. He gets the ball and then he just goes into his dribble package. SGA makes me feel so comfortable. The whole team is a team. Everyone works together. Everyone touches the ball on offense. Everyone works on defense. Jonas Valanciunas giving us work does scare me a little bit. I'm not going to say we can beat the Nuggets or anything like that, solely because if Jonas is giving us that work, then Nikola Jokic is going to have a field day. But this team is dangerous. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, that's it.